Grab a cup, settle in, and turn it up. It's time for a couple of drips. Coffee, conversation, and occasional quips. Here's your host, Chris Granger.
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Couple of Drips. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. It's great to have you here. It's been a nice couple of weeks, I have to say, with Record Store Day and the beautiful sunshine we're having. We're recording this in April. Is it April? Is it May? I'm not sure. What is it? Is it April or May? Yeah,
we're still.
Yeah, we're
still April.
Still April, aren't we? We're a few days from the end of April. I don't know where I am. Who am I? What am I doing? You're not my daughter. Thanks for listening, guys. And I'd also just like to, before I introduce today's guest, who's already spoken, so that's the running order gone out the window altogether. But before I introduce today's guest, just thanks to everyone who's, we set up the KOFI page last month, and we've also moved our hosting from Anchor to Acast. And doing that, obviously, that was quite complicated. So I'd like to thank the people at both Anchor and Acast, because they were both brilliant at helping us do that. But also now, if you would like to, we've now got a support us button on Acast. Basically, if you go to our page on Acast, or any of the players that you play it in, if you play it in Audible, if you play it in Podcast Addict, if you play it in Spotify, Deezer, etc., they all have a support us button. And we've currently only got one tier on there, which is just £5 a month. But I'm hoping at some point to put extra tiers on there where there'll be members-only bonus material. But I've just kept it basic at the moment. If you can afford it, it helps support the episode. It helps pay expenses for guests. It helps buy the coffee. It helps keep the equipment in good order, pay travel expenses, things like that. If you can't afford it, don't worry. We love you just for listening anyway, so that's great. So enough of me waffling. I'm going to introduce today's guest, who's a lovely chap that I've not known very long, actually, but met through my mutual friend from episode 1 of season 2, Jamie Summerfield. And we've become very good friends. We've found we've got an awful lot in common, and he's a super interesting chap. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Dave Deakin. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Chris.
How are you, sir?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
I'm very good. I resisted the urge to go Dave Deakin, Dozy Beaky McIntyre, but I've just done it now, so that's absolutely ruined it.
It's out your system now, isn't it?
So, it's out of my system. How are you, sir? And more to the point, where were you on Record Store Day?
Very well. Record Store Day.
You weren't there. Your absence was sorely noticed.
Well, it is Saturday morning. I have the insane idea of getting up with my wife, and we do like a boot camp.
Oh, right. Okay. This is interesting.
Yeah, your young lady in question, I'll do a little plug for her.
Yeah.
Called Natalie Gibson.
Right.
A.K.A. The Nag.
I'll have her details and I'll put them in the episode description.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Obviously, Nat used to work at Stone Leisure Centre.
Right, okay.
And she was a PT and also used to do classes there.
Nice.
And then she went self-employed.
Brilliant.
And just at the time when the pandemic started.
Yeah.
But bless her, very quickly she adapted to do classes on Zoom.
Nice.
And personally, myself and my wife...
That's brilliant. I think it's something I should definitely get into, because I've put on about 2 people over lockdown. So, yeah.
She's fantastic, and what I love about her is enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And there's
so what sort of thing do you do? Is it just intense workout or spinning or a bit of everything?
She does all sorts. So on a Saturday morning, it's called Nag Camp. So it's literally
I like that.
On Stone Hockey Club. There's some ground just to your right.
Yeah.
So all weathers and conditions. There's no exception. It goes ahead no matter what.
Nice.
And you get there. I think it's something like £5 or £4.
Brilliant.
Lasts an hour.
Wow.
And then she takes you through an all-over
Can't get anything for £5 an hour nowadays.
But I would thoroughly recommend it.
Nice.
And anybody welcome, no matter what your fitness level. She's very good.
I'm thinking this is a good job. Yeah.
But she was brilliant. She obviously through the pandemic helped my mental health and my wife's with the Zoom classes.
Massively, yeah.
And then what happened, why she was doing that. She come up with the idea. Apparently, she'd been wanting to do it for years.
Yeah.
She broke away from Stone Leisure,
Yeah.
went completely solo, and Nag Camp's become a fantastic success now every Saturday morning.
That sounds fantastic. I will look into that. I mean, Kelly and I keep saying that we're going to go down to use the facilities down there, use the pool and that, because she's big into swimming kind of thing, and I'm big, full stop. And so, yeah, but I think that's definitely something we should explore. But you say she started off in Zoom, and obviously the whole mental health thing during lockdown, the Zoom thing was getting people to exercise. I think it probably saved a lot of people there, and just having some contact with other people as well. Do you find that really helped?
Oh, amazingly so. And I think what she started doing is she gets up at 6 o'clock every morning.
Wow.
And goes for a morning walk, but she posts it on Facebook.
Brilliant.
So she'll talk about every subject under the sun
Yeah.
while she's on a morning walk.
Awesome.
And also it's very good on
What a great idea.
Yeah, and I think
turning your own exercise into something to help other people,
And she's very infectious. And what she's all about is it's not just you're going to go there and turn into Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
It's all about you enjoying it, a lifestyle change, feeling good about yourself.
Yeah.
And if you're a gentleman of our certain age, is that the best way to describe us? Yeah, just,
I'm 25. Times 2.
Times 2, yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're sort of starting to have one eye over the shoulder now as you get older.
Yeah.
And I think I find it quite important because obviously I enjoy walking. That doing this is a big, big help. Gone are the days where I'm attempting to look like, the 6th member of Take That, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that I could if I tried.
Not the 5th member of Dave Deakin, Dozy Beacon. So just moving in aside from there, I noticed some of the way you pronounced your words during that. Where are you originally from, Dave?
I'm a bit of a strange one, obviously. Born in Portsmouth.
Oh, okay.
Literally on the quayside. My dad was.
Is that where the Mary Rose is?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
I shamefully say I left there when I was 2, and I've only briefly been back with the football.
I am obsessed with the Mary Rose because when we were at school, wonderfully, we had a great history teacher who had quite a lot of pull, and when they were bringing the Mary Rose up, we just sat in the assembly room and the gym, I think it would have been. And we just watched the raising of it. So for about 3 or 4 days, because it took them a while to get it up, and then the thing broke as they were pulling it up. But for about 3 or 4 days, we just sat in the hall watching them bringing this thing up. So, and then for about probably, it felt like a year, but it was probably about a month. We had lessons on the Mary Rose from then. So I've still disgracefully not been down to see it. So I need to get that sorted. But yeah, so where did you move after?
So obviously, when my brother was born, my dad was submariner. So
brilliant!
He was away from home for long stretches. So I think had my dad had his choice, he would have stayed in the Navy.
Yeah,
but, I think at that point, family life. So we then moved back to Cheltenham, which is where my mum's from.
Oh, okay.
And then I think when I was 7, 6 or 7, we come back to Stafford.
Yeah.
And then obviously I've been there up until
very nice
5 years ago, and then
Submariner. That's a hell of a job.
Oh,
it's one of those things that I think I'd either love it or hate it. Either the claustrophobia would get to me, or it'd just be absolutely amazing. I've got a friend she'd just been on the program Warships actually, and she absolutely loves it. But I don't know if the claustrophobia gets me. But then I watch like The Spy Who Loved Me. And the submarine bit's the best thing in that film. I absolutely love that, But yeah,
I think a good one to watch would be Das Boot. I don't know if you ever,
great,
yeah?
Das Boot, the original German one. Yeah, no, I've seen that. What's the one with the submarine with the nuclear reactor leak as well? That's got Harrison Ford in it.
Oh,
U-172 or something.
Yes,
or something like that. Anyway, that's great. My dad used to build model submarines, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. I'll bore you about that off air at some point, but that's fascinating. Brilliant. Well, I think we should probably have a look at the coffee, shouldn't we, really? So let's play the daft new ident.
All together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Coffee time, it's coffee time.
It doesn't matter if it's your place or mine. Coffee they call the wine of therapy. It grows on a vine and it's better than tea.
It grows on a vine and it's better than tea. And my girlfriend Kelly only drinks tea. She doesn't drink coffee at all. And when I first did that ident, the original idea was to have her on the end going, no, it fucking isn't. But she didn't want to do it. So she's like, if my mum hears me swearing, I'll be in trouble. So I never did it. But yeah, so love making my daft idents. So what are we drinking, Dave?
Today, courtesy of the bear, we are drinking Kinini. Have I just pronounced that right?
I think that sounds right,
yes.
Yeah.
And which is from Rolindo in Rwanda.
Ah, Rwandan. Rwanda makes some amazing coffees. I should just say from the bear. It's not some bear that's going, want to buy the coffee, guys. That bear is a coffee chain that I think is in Uttoxeter, Derby. I think there's 2 in Derby and Stone. I apologise if there's any other branches anywhere else, but we're recording this in Stone in Staffordshire, and it's kind of our local haunt, isn't it, really? We go there for breakfast now and again. But they do this, over the past, probably the past 12 months, Bear has sort of changed their, because they do all the regular, they do the cappuccino, the espresso, the flat white, etc. But over the past 12 months, they've sort of had an artisan coffee on the menu, but they've sort of changed it. It was an AeroPress to start off with, and then I think it was a V60, and now they just call it their adventure coffee, don't they?
Yes.
Or something like that, or their hand brew. I think they're calling it now hand brew. Adventure was the name of the last coffee, but they're calling it their hand brew, and basically it's made in a Hario V60. But they changed the coffee from month to month, and we had last month's coffee, which was an Araku, which was an Indian, and that was remarkable. This one, well, what do you think, Dave? What do you think of this Rwandan?
Again, very nice, but my favourite, since I've been drinking coffee in the bear, has to be last month's. How do we pronounce it again?
Just in slip.
It was
Araku, but I just called it their adventure coffee because that's all I knew it was. But that was Indian. Indian, Sumatran, those kind of things. A lot of coffee comes from South America or Africa. And up until a few years ago, if you said like an Indian coffee or something from that continent, that side of the globe, it wouldn't have been a very good coffee. Basically, a lot of the coffees that came from there were cheap, and they were things that were used in instant coffee and mixed in with other things to bulk it out. And recently, there have been some better coffee beans, better growing out there, better conditions kind of thing, but just better quality control. And I have to say now, if you see like a Sumatran, an Indian or anything, if you see it being sold as a single source, it's going to be pretty good. I mean, it's very rare now to get a bad one. And I mean, so this is very nice, but I think I agree. I think I preferred last month's, the Indian one.
I think what sold me on last month's was when it was described, it's very boozy.
It was quite boozy, actually. It had like a fermented taste, fermented flavour to it. Yeah, it was very nice. And I tried brewing it every which way. I tried an AeroPress, tried a Chemex or whatever, and I basically couldn't get a bad cup out of it. So
I have to say, today's my debut in Chris's flat, and I have to say,
here we go.
I have coffee envy. If you can imagine, like NASA in the coffee making world, that's where we're at. I think I frequent many coffee houses in Stone, but I don't think they've got a patch on Chris's setup.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. Yes, I need to stop buying coffee making equipment, or Kelly will kill me. Yeah. Brilliant. So yeah, it's nice. It's a little bit heavier than last month's. It's this what Canini?
Canini.
It's a little bit heavier than last month's. It's a bourbon variety. It's washed. It's from an altitude of 1950 to 2200 meters. above sea level. And sweet, bright, and caramelized. Yeah, it's a heavier coffee. It's a slightly darker coffee, I think, than last month's. But nice mouthfeel, nice. I would imagine this would be nice with like a chocolate brownie.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Or as I often have when I go into Bear, those insane cinnamon swirls that they have. You know, those are... well, let's just think about that for a second.
I can say last time I met with Chris and Jamie for coffee, I had the misfortune of having my low-fat
yes,
natural yogurt before I left the house.
Yeah.
And then obviously
you were too full?
Too full.
Too full.
And then I had massive envy of Chris's almond.
You looked... cinnamon swirl.
Cinnamon swirl. Yeah.
You looked at my pastry with envy. Yeah, you did. Terrible. Yeah. Yeah, yogurt will fill you up. That's the thing. Yeah, yeah.
It was the size of your pastry as well. It was fantastic.
And you didn't have anything. And I looked at him and thought, how dare he? How dare he? Let's move on from that. Anyway, so one of the things, talking about my kitchen. Oh, nice segue. Talking about my kitchen and your arrival here and looking around and that, you noticed that we both avidly collect fridge magnets.
Oh, yes.
What started you collecting the fridge magnets, Dave?
Many moons
and
ago.
Why do you collect them? Why would grown men?
Yeah.
Why would grown men collect fridge magnets?
Bits of metal and
yeah.
I have to say I had a paranoid thought the other day that I've got so many fridge magnets that would the fridge stop working? Is there a? That's my question. I'm gonna have to research now. Is there a point where you can have too many fridge magnets on the fridge?
Yeah, or is there a point where you surround the fridge with magnets, and then if you put a tin inside the fridge, it'll just stick to the inside of the thing? I don't know.
I was kind of wondering that, actually. You know, I think last time I had something with a bit of metal, it was stuck to the side, and I couldn't remove it. Yeah,
yeah. I don't know. I'd never thought of that. How many magnets is too many magnets?
I'm guessing now.
I think your wife would probably tell you.
Yes, I'm starting to. So we've got completely down the one side of the fridge, from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And then probably half at the other side.
Wow.
So we're getting to the stage.
Do you have one of those magnetic IKEA boards as well?
No, that's one thing.
My sister's got two of those in her kitchen. I've got one in the kitchen. It's when you run out of fridge, get an IKEA magnetic board because you just never stop then. So what was can you remember what your first magnet was? That's a weird question, isn't it? But can you remember what I guess you collect them for the memories kind of thing. But,
yeah, it was something I went when I split from my ex-wife.
Yeah.
A guy I used to work with and his brother and friend, they would travel. And what they were big England fans, but what they would do, rather than just go and watch the match, they would go somewhere for a week, or 10 days. Mm-hmm. And the first thing they did whenever they got anywhere was they got a fridge magnet. But also there was competition between the three of them to get the standout. So it's one of these, you know, you can't just, I think my wife, God bless her, goes mad at me sometimes because not only have I got to find a fridge magnet, but it's got to be of a certain standard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
Plenty of trawling through gift shops and tat and stuff.
Yeah.
And the two things they did was make sure they got a fridge magnet, place they were visiting.
Yeah.
And also the second competition was scoring the toilets.
Yeah.
Sounds a strange thing to do, but you know.
No, to be honest, I mean, this comes from my gran, but I don't know whether it's an old person thing or whatever, but she would always go somewhere and she would go very nice, clean toilets, very nice, good toilets, nice facilities. Or we'd go for a meal and she'd come back and she'd go, beautiful toilets or toilets. Yeah. It's like, these things are important, comfort away from home, you know.
It's massive. My 10 out of, I actually had a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
We went to Torino and we were having a few beers in a piazza.
Yeah.
And the local cafe, obviously I asked him if I could use the facilities. Mm-hmm. He gave me, I think the key was the size of my arm. So I started thinking, he said, right, you need to go down to the end of the...
That's a bit like New York. They give you this tiny little key, but they give you this on a massive wooden thing so you don't go and walk out the building with it.
And what it was, I went down and I this door.
Yeah.
And it was a bit like, you imagine the scene when Luke Skywalker is trying to rescue Han Solo in Return of the Jedi. And he approaches the door.
Yeah.
That was the size of this door. And I
Wow.
thought, but where are we going here?
Yeah.
I went through,
Yeah.
and he'd given me really good directions. Well, next year I was in a courtyard, and there was like, birds of paradise around the place.
Wow.
And basically, it was somebody's obviously home as well.
Yeah.
So at first, you're thinking,
yeah,
my God. But then I led to like the Garden of Eden, where this toilet was.
Yeah.
And that has not been beaten yet.
Wow.
That's the 10 out of 10 moment.
The Endor of toilets.
Endor of toilets. Yes.
The end of Endor. There's a joke there, but I can't quite formulate it. Yeah. So what did you score that toilet? Was that
that got it a firm 10 out of 10?
And I thought you'd just given it a 2.
2, yeah.
Hey. Oh, very good. That's very nice. Yeah, I can understand the rating toilets. I'm not sure how we got from fridge magnets to that, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. When you get somewhere, that is find the comfortable toilet, and locate the quality fridge magnet, not the yeah, because there are some bad ones.
And I have today on witnessing Chris's kitchen, I have some massive fridge magnet envy.
Anyone in particular?
Oh, there is the one of the San Francisco tram, I think.
Oh yes,
that's beautiful.
Yeah, there's a couple of those. There's another tram one which you missed, I think, actually, which I'll show you later. But brilliant fridge magnets. Which brings us to one of the fridge magnets that you noticed was the Ampelmann from Berlin.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Yeah. Tell us about your experiences of Berlin.
Obviously, the first time I went was a bit of a fraught experience. We were basically friends. We were going to watch United play, and do you know what? I've forgotten the German team's name in the Champions League.
Back and blah blah blah.
It's a place, the very small team just outside Berlin. So we decided what we were going to do. We were going to go to Berlin. And it was about an hour's train journey.
Right.
And obviously, the friends I go with, I'm quite anal at being organised.
Yeah.
So we'd met in a pub in Stafford, and my friend was picking me up with his girlfriend, and there was two of us waiting in the pub for him. And when you look and think, we're flying from Stansted Airport, he's cutting this very close. But I'm not going to say anything because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So lo and behold, we get there, and not only that as well, I made the misfortune of buying a brand new aftershave, which was 120 mil, not 100. So I'd confiscated on me before I'd even used it.
No.
Only to get to the departure gate to find out we missed the flight by 5 minutes. So I'm thinking we'd just go back home. Well, as it turned out, the supporters branch we were with really kindly lent us the money to rebook the flight.
Oh, wow.
So we had to spend the night in a Volkswagen Golf. And I was in the back seat with...
I thought you were going to say a Volkswagen camper van then, and that sounded didn't sound too bad. And then you went a Volkswagen Golf.
Volkswagen Golf, very cold November's night in the back seat with a 6'4" lad from Cannock.
Wow.
So, but we eventually got to Berlin the next day, and obviously the first experience, it was the Christmas markets.
Oh, amazing.
Embarrassingly, as I asked a local, can you tell me where the German markets are, please? Yes. Just, but and straight away, I fell in love with it, and and all the places I've travelled to, I think Berlin, still stand out. And I've been, I think, 5 times now, and each time I go, discover something new.
Brilliant.
The place is absolutely fantastic.
We talked about actually that you haven't yet explored the record shops.
No.
Of Berlin, which are something that you should definitely check out. I was telling you earlier, I was watching that video with John Darko, who's a guy, an audiophile, an audio equipment reviewer that I follow on YouTube, and Darko Audio, and I'll put a link in the description. And he goes around these various different places, including this one, which is a guy who works full time, and then from about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, he just opens his front door, and his front living room is a record shop, which is absolutely incredible, So it's a lot of dance music, electronic EDM, as they call it, in Berlin, obviously, because coming out of this sort of tradition of Kraftwerk, Tangerine Dream, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of sort of a lot of kind of ambient, a lot of dance and that kind of thing. But yeah, so what did you get from the Ampelmann store?
I think I was finally dragged out by my wife. So my collection ended with a 1 foot bathroom sponge. And I'm trying to work out now for Ampelmann. We've got the green and the red. Are they different? Is the red guy got a different name?
No, they're both called the Ampelmann. They're both
Is it
called
Ampelmann?
Ampelmann.
Why do I call it Ampelmann? Ampelmann.
Yeah, I should explain to listeners who don't know what the hell the Ampelmann is. It's the, strangely enough, it's the road crossing symbol, the walk and don't walk sign in Germany. But this guy's like a character with a pork pie hat.
Yep.
And he's huge to the extent that there is a shop called the Ampelmann shop.
Yeah.
Where it's just merch for the Ampelmann. He's a character. The nearest I can describe it, if you Google Ampelmann, or I'll put a link to the Ampelmann shop on the description actually, but if you've never seen the Ampelmann, the nearest I can describe him to English listeners is if you remember the old Follow the Bear Hofmeister adverts.
Yes.
He's a bit like the Hofmeister bear kind of.
That's a good description.
Yeah, but I'll put a link to the Ampelmann shops in there because it's if you've never experienced it, it is.
I think if you wanted to describe, because they say Berlin is like no other German city, and I think if you wanted to describe Berlin, to have such a love for the, pedestrian crossing sign. To have its own department, its own shop, that says it all.
Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic.
Definitely. So, I mean, you went there, you went to the Ampelmann shop. You didn't do the record shops, but you are a massive fan of record shops, aren't you?
Oh, yes. Ever so slightly.
I mean, I'm not sure I've forgiven you for not coming to Record Store Day in favour of doing exercises. It's not so much forgive as I'm not sure I can get my head around
as well
that.
I think I nearly got my our very dear friend Jamie in trouble as well because Jamie texted me the night before saying there's anything you want.
Yeah.
And obviously there was a very nice Betty Harris.
We were both looking out for that for you. Yeah.
Again, I come across it. I listened to the Ratcliffe and McConey radio show.
Oh, right, yeah.
On a Saturday and Sunday morning, which is from 8 till 10 on Six Music.
Nice.
Fantastic. And they've been playing quite a bit of her stuff over the last year.
Yeah, I think they only had one copy of that, actually.
Well, it made it worse. Lauren Laverne on the day before actually announced that this was coming out and announced it was very rare. So not that you need any plug-in.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Jamie, God bless, got in there, picked it up for me, but then nearly got lamped. for really took one for the team. Apparently, the fella behind had travelled over land and sea, especially for it.
I mean, that's a funny thing. Actually, I've got a story to relate about that because I love Record Store Day. I think it can cause problems because obviously, things come out and I always, it's a roller coaster of emotions for me, Record Store Day, because first of all, there's always things that you want. And I try and be very loyal to the local record store in Stonefish. But there are other record stores that I go to and I think, well, shall I go to a different record store because they have a different selection and that. But, you kind of want to be loyal. And some of the stuff you can get at record fairs and stuff, or dare I say it, on eBay later on. But I always like to try and support the local record store shop. But obviously, they will order in a set number of things, and they won't necessarily order everything, or they won't necessarily get everything they order as well. So I really wanted a load of the Morricone soundtracks, and Pete, who runs Fish Records, hadn't got any of them in. I don't know whether he didn't order them or whether they just didn't send any, and I know that some of them got put back until the June date because they've had pressing issues again. So I changed my list of things that I wanted to get, and I got a list of 5 things, including the Dire Straits' Love Over Gold, reissue, which I thought I'm not going to get. And I got down there at 8:15 in the morning, thinking he was opening at 8:30, thinking this would be good. It was about 17th in the queue. some mad people had come down from Liverpool, and they'd been they'd been queuing since 5 in the morning from Liverpool.
How come they just randomly picked?
I didn't know. Get in trouble for that one. I
was about to say calm down, but I won't go.
Calm down. I don't know. I think they may have originally been from the area and they moved. But my mate Stu came down from Liverpool, actually. But just because it's kind of a camaraderie thing, we all like to go and do it, sort of thing. And we all went for breakfast afterwards, which you missed as well.
Yes, no, I missed breakfast as well.
But anyway, Stu paid for everyone as well. Call out to Stu Howarth, who's been on a previous episode. He bought everyone breakfast, bless him.
I'm now finding out why I was running round out of breath.
Yeah.
Getting battered into submission around a field. You could have been getting battered
by the guy whose record that you'd got instead. Yeah.
I could have been battering my bank balance again.
Yeah. Yeah, we nearly managed to do that for you.
We have said before, and I think Chris will agree on this, that what Pete at Fish Records, which I'll do Chris has probably given me a plug before, but I'd have to say, what a fantastic record shop. Amazing. I think when he first opened up, he specialised in a lot of like what they call Americana, sort of folk, but I think since then he's branched out.
He's listened to people, basically. Yeah. Which is what you should do if you own a record shop.
And he's a really, really top guy, isn't he? Nice guy. He knows his stuff.
Yeah.
His prices are very, very fair.
Yeah, they are. And I like to support local businesses as well, because when I first moved here, we saw loads of businesses going out of business in the high street, and just everything turning into charity shops. And it was such a shame, because Stone is such a beautiful high street. But now it's nice to say, and you say, oh, we've got a record shop, we've got a new coffee shop, and it's nice to support those.
Don't get me wrong, the internet is fantastic. I think didn't David Bowie once quote that when the internet will bring out the best and the worst in the world, and he's probably quite right. Yeah. But equally as well, I think one of the beauties of Stone, and I don't want to tempt fate, I have a feel it's on the up again now with the bod opening.
I think it is. It is. Yeah.
And it's a very, very nice town.
Yes.
And I think there's nothing better, on a Saturday, just to get up, have a stroll down the high street, somewhere nice to eat.
Definitely.
Go and buy a piece of vinyl.
Definitely.
I just like to see if we can get a few more shops opening up.
Yeah, definitely.
Because what I don't want to do is end up where we just end up like in America, these ghost towns where everything is a retail park, or a department store. To be honest with you, internet's fantastic, but it's also nice to be able to physically go out and speak to people.
You see that episode of The Simpsons where he goes in the shopping mall and everything is a Starbucks, and he goes in the skateboarding shop or something, and he says there, "Sorry, son, we're closing in 5 minutes. We're becoming a Starbucks." Brilliant. Yeah. So anyway, just to jump back to my RSD story, so I thought there's like 17 guys in the queue in front of me, and I thought there's no way I'm going to get this. And I had an original list of about 12 or 13 things that I could potentially get. And the night before, Jamie sent me a PDF of what they'd actually got in stock. And they'd got one copy of the Dire Straits in. I wanted the Mel C album. They'd got one copy of that. They'd got Scott Walker album. We'll come back to Scott Walker in a bit. I know you want to talk about Scott Walker. And they'd got one copy of each of these. And I thought there's absolutely no way I'm going to get the Dire Straits, because the guys in front of the queue, to be fair, my age or older, a lot of them, and I thought, that's it, the Dire Straits is gone. And lo and behold, I had 5 records on the list, 4 of which I knew from the list, the PDF the night before, that Pete had only got one copy of each. I got all 5 of them. Wow, couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. I was like, the Scott Walker I saw from the window, it was at the back. It was the back of the right-hand side. And I literally walked in, and I pushed past Jamie, even though Jamie was in front of me. I pushed past him, and I just went, grabbed the Scott Walker straight away, because it was at the back. And I'm like, I'm having that now before anyone else gets their hands on it, kind of thing. And then pretty much, I think, between the two of us, we both found your record at the same time. And so went, that's the one Dave wants. There we go. But yeah.
Chris, I have to thank Chris and Jamie, because I've been unable to attend first thing. I've been able to go later, but they've picked me up 2 gems. Obviously, the Betty Harris, and I'd recommend anybody out there give her a listen. She's known as the Queen of New Orleans Soul.
What was the one we got you last year?
Bobby Gentry.
Bobby Gentry. I still want that album, actually. I'm going to have to pick that up. I said to Pete, I wanted that Bobby Gentry album. You got one left, and Pete went, yeah, I had it.
I have to thank my wife, Steph. We have a music night, so if we're not going out anywhere, Saturday night, on goes YouTube.
Yeah.
And obviously, we both got very eclectic tastes, but Steph comes out with the Jedi every now and then. Nowhere.
Nice.
She'll just pick a song out of the blue that I've never heard of an artist, and Bobby Gentry being one of the artists.
Brilliant.
She's brought to the table, and you just think, wow,
yeah, Kelly's very good with that as well. She's into musical films, musical theatre, but she's a massive classical and opera fan as well. I can't really do opera, but she's got me into a lot of classical stuff that I would not have listened to had she not introduced me to it. But then again, I play her stuff, and some stuff she likes, like I've got her into Father John Misty.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And John Grant and Chic, which she wouldn't have listened to. We're going to see Chic in July.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
It
was supposed to be last year. It was supposed to be last year, but it got put back a year. So looking forward to that. Going to see them in Bristol. Hello, anyone in Bristol? Say hi.
Which venue are we going to?
Forgotten now. It's a big place. Deakin or something.
Shout out. Have you been to Bristol before?
Many times.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's close to my heart because my granddad's from Bristol.
Yeah, right.
So,
I used to have a girlfriend in Weston-super-Mare, so I used to spend quite a lot of time in Bristol.
Oh, Weston-super-Mare.
Yeah.
That was my childhood holidays.
Weston-super-Mare.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
There are literally billions and billions of podcasts out there. So the chances of finding intelligent life amongst them are so infinitesimally small as to not even be worth looking. Could you then have stumbled onto the one podcast where intelligent life could exist? No, you haven't.
Mr. Brian Cox, there you go. So, no, not really. Mr. Danny Davis doing Brian Cox. So, what was your first single and album that you bought then, Dave?
I can remember. I think I was 9. It was Christmas 1980.
Yeah.
And it was Madness Baggy Trousers on 7-inch single.
Oh, nice.
Madness Absolutely on vinyl. Along with, can you remember the? Obviously, my parents weren't very well off. So, but fantastic. The old turntable in a box. I think they've re-brought them back out recently, haven't they?
Oh, like the Crosley type things. Yeah.
So that was my obviously second-hand thing, but it was my very first turntable and my very first piece of vinyl. And obviously give us my first delve into music. And at the time I'd have been 9, but my friends I hung around with were 3 or 4 years older. So they were big in the music.
Oh.
And if you can remember late 70s, early 80s, everything had to be a theme. You were either a punk, a mod, a rockabilly.
Massive mod revival, of course.
Oh,
with Specials and Selector.
And that was my first love. And there was, I remember a lad lived down my street who he'd have been 16 and he was in the Stafford Scooter Club.
Oh,
and
awesome.
I can remember being on my front gate one time and it was like a scene from Quadrophenia. Because where I lived in Birtling Road had a very, very wide road, like a turning point.
Yeah.
I can remember about 20 scooters coming to pick him up.
Brilliant.
And I thought, this is, and the dress, the way they dressed, the Harringtons, all the loafers, the gear that went with it.
Fantastic.
And I think as well, myself and Chris recently went to the Two-Tone.
It was an exhibition in Coventry, wasn't it? It was absolutely amazing, I have to say. It was there was loads of guitars and instruments and stuff from there. There was loads of album covers. There was installations. They had people like Pauline Black talking on video and stuff. It was really, really good, wasn't it?
And I think it sums up Jerry Dammers, really, because if you think of the Two-Tone label now, it's iconic. But if you look at it, most bands probably, I think they went on the Two-Tone tour, probably didn't ever release a pressing with under Two-Tone.
Yeah.
And then other bands like the Beat only did one single, I think. So the only band that actually sort of stuck with them was a Selector.
Yes.
Who And I think it sums up a lot of independent record labels at the time.
Yeah.
They, apart from probably Rough Trade, a lot of record labels made the misfortune of only signing somebody on a one record deal.
Yeah.
And then obviously that.
Who was the really, I remember there was a really random release on Two Tone, and I can't remember who it was now.
There's Elvis Costello.
Was it Elvis Costello?
Yes,
I remember there was a few odd ones where you think, wow, I wouldn't have thought they'd have
You'd
released
have
on
the
there.
sort of like the obvious where I think obviously Madness did the Prince. I think only one song.
That's right, the Prince, yeah.
Yeah, Madness. Obviously the Specials did both albums, and obviously several singles. Probably the most.
Yeah,
that's between the Specials and the Selector. They were probably the most. What would you say? Commercial.
Oh yeah,
probably
I would say so. They made the label's name. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
Outside of that, like the Beat, but that you had a thing. There's a film which is called. Back my brains now. Dance Craze, I think. Apologise to anybody listening. But basically, it was a film about the Two Tone.
Right. Send me a link and I'll put it in the blurb anyway.
We'll find that. And what he did, they took on tour, and when we were at the exhibition, we seen quite a lot of photographs.
Yeah.
Of them on tour.
Brilliant.
It must have been, to be fair, I say a fantastic time. They didn't look very happy in the photographs, did they? But
no.
You'd got basically the Selector, Madness, Specials all going around the country on tour. And
I remember those distinctly because some of them were taken on my birthday, and I would have been about 9 or 10. But I remember because they got the date that they were taken. I remember some fantastic. There was like the Specials, and they were on a beach, and then they were like.
It was at
sitting on a tank
Hastings,
or something.
I think they must have been playing Brighton. They're sitting on the beach at Hastings.
That's right.
And you've got Suggs, Terry Hall, Pauline Black.
Nice.
But I think the love of the music was being a teenager at the time. In what was to become Thatcher's Britain.
Yes, definitely.
I think Two Tone for me, above everything else.
Yeah,
said it all. And obviously today, Specials Ghost Town.
Yeah.
That
amazing.
And that's what I felt about Stafford.
Yeah.
I felt as a teenager there was nothing.
Yeah. I got a clip around the ear once for Ghost Town because I was at school disco and all the lads sang Too Much Farting on the Dance Floor. And I thought that was the lyric. And then I was at home and I sang along to it on Top of the Pops. And my dad clipped me around the ear and he went, "Don't be so bloody rude."
There's actually, you've just reminded me, there's a brilliant episode of Father Ted.
Yeah.
And what it is, it's the one where they're having a raffle, and in each episode of Father Ted, you'd get a different kooky sort of father.
Yeah.
And this one priest, he's a DJ as well. When he's come to do the raffles disco, he's left his record collection at home, so the only record he's got is the Specials Ghost Town. So when he starts the disco, he says, "And here's a little one from the Specials," and then it moves on an hour later.
Yeah, and he's still playing.
And then at the end, when they've finished the raffle, they said, "Can we all please be standing for the national anthem?" And it comes on.
Ghost Town.
Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, no, we love that. I love Father Ted. That came up in episode 2 of this season actually with Dave Patrick because he's a massive.
Am I right in thinking? Because I was listening to something with Neil Hannon from the Divine Comedy.
Yeah.
They were doing the stage show of Father Ted.
Oh, really?
But I think it was pre-pandemic. But I'll have to have a look if that's going to.
That would be so good if that.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
If that came about, if that could be a thing, that would be amazing. So these kind of older lads sort of influenced your music, as I think happened with many of us at school there, and got you into that two-tone stuff, and that was kind of the first stuff you had. What? So moving along, what was the last record you bought? You can't have the one that you've already mentioned from Record Store Day that Jamie got you. Because
I'll probably be letting you into Chris will know this story. Fish Records obviously has a nice range of second-hand records, and what's happened is there's an elderly lady that's been going in,
yes,
and
selling her son's record collection. Now we don't know if she's knocking these off, if her son knows she's selling them or what, but. Anyway, so this lovely lady's going in and every week selling him a pile of records. So.
And it's if you're a fan of sort of alternative indie music, from the sort of noughties, where some of that vinyl's quite hard to get hold of, LCD Sound System, Modest Mouse, bands like that.
Yes.
So I've been going in, and obviously I have to have a monthly budget, which probably Chris and Jamie were all,
Yeah. I Yeah, let's just talk about budget for a minute. So I took out a quantity of cash. That was my limit to spend. And I have to say, the quantity of cash was, because I found those 5 that I wanted, the quantity of cash was spent, bar I had £15 change from it. So I was very pleased with myself. And then we went for breakfast. And then we went back to fish again after the queue had gone. And then I bought 3 more from a previous year's record store.
Oh, what did you buy on the second troll?
On the second troll, I bought the soundtrack to Get Carter.
Good soundtrack, yeah.
You're a big man, but you're out of shape. I do this for a living. Don't be a silly boy. Soundtrack to Get Carter. I bought a Sonny Boy Williamson.
Yeah.
Which I just fell in love with the cover of. I often judge a record by its cover. Sonny Boy Williamson and the soundtrack to The Mission. Another Mark Knopfler soundtrack. I've got a bit of a thing for Mark Knopfler soundtracks apparently, but So I didn't spend all of my budget, and I took the cash out on purpose, and then I went back and then had to use my card. So.
On the subject of that, we've all done it.
Yeah.
Have you come across any gems where you've bought something through the cover and it's led to you liking the band? And
totally, absolutely, yeah. Trying to think of some example now. Yeah, public service broadcasting.
Yep. Which particular?
It was the excuse me, Race for Space.
Yes, good album.
And then just bought the entire back catalogue off that. Tangerine Dream, Le Parc. Or was it Le Parc or was it Force Majeure? I'm not sure. But anyway, Tangerine Dream like that. Yeah, definitely. There's been quite a few like that. Mr. Scruff. Some dance stuff. And Nightmares on Wax, I believe that happened with. But yeah, over various different times, I have, yeah, and I still do it now. I bought a thing the other day. I can't remember what it was, but I just like the cover, and like, yeah, even if it's rubbish, the cover looks nice, you know. So yeah, I do that. I do buy some stuff on spec. I remember when vinyl was really untrendy around 2000, late 90s, 2000. It was really unfashionable. There was a record shop in Dublin that was on its last legs and selling stuff for £1. And so, of course, I came away with about 40 records, and loads of stuff I'd never heard of, Bumblebees, and I can't remember. There was a Hives record, and so I can't remember half the stuff I got. Lo-fi, yeah, and I just bought stuff on the spec of the covers, Concords and stuff who I had heard of, and yeah, loved 90% of the stuff that I bought, you know, and I would say about 90% of it I'd never heard of, you know, but it was just all in the sale, and I'm like, yep.
bargain.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Yeah. So, but no, I have done that and found some gems. So that was the last album you bought. Do you still buy singles?
No.
Did you actually say what the album was? Actually,
I actually bought David Bowie, Aladdin Sane.
No, I didn't think you had said it.
It was it's an album, obviously. Listening to Bowie, you know,
yeah.
I have done, but for some known reason I'd not listened to that album.
Yeah,
and then I've just started.
I think I've only heard it once. I know Hunky Dory slightly better than I know Aladdin Sane.
Yeah, and I just sort of was playing it a few weeks back and blown away by it, and it was. I think obviously there's one or two tracks that you can feel a bit of that 70s glam rock.
Yeah.
But the rest of the album, if it was released tomorrow, you'd be wowing about it being fresh and current,
sure.
And which sums the guy up, doesn't it? You know,
yeah.
Absolute legend.
Yeah.
And he'd got a lovely copy in there, which I think is courtesy of, we're calling her the Mystery Mother. He keeps bringing the vinyl. So he's got a beautiful copy. I say second hand.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever been out of the sleeve.
Yeah.
So that was my last purchase, and also LCD sound system.
Nice.
Sounds of Silver.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, no, that's interesting. And of course, when we were in there, we had the lovely record store day beer.
Yes.
Did you try the beer?
I've got it. I've literally, due to doctor's orders, had to go.
It's called B-side.
B-side it.
B-side. This one's called. Yeah.
It's by Meantime again, isn't it?
Yeah.
From
yeah.
Greenwich.
Yeah. 33.45 was last year's, which
Yeah.
I thought it was all right, but this year's is stunning.
Is it nice?
Absolutely stunning. Yeah. Yeah. I ended up with 2 cans. We won't talk about how I did that, but I've drunk one and I've got one left because Kelly wants to try it. So
I've got mine to try. So I think I should be sampling that. Over.
you will not be disappointed, and you'll get a pint out of that can. So do share it. But yeah, no, lovely. So that's really nice. I mean, you're a bit of an ale drinker anyway, aren't you?
I love my.
It was a segue. Did you spot that?
Well, yes, but one of my other passions is, and my wife, bless her, whenever we go travelling, the first thing I will do is look out for craft beer, because it's obviously traditionally growing up, I like my real ale.
Yeah.
And then in recent years, I've got into the craft beer scene.
Lovely.
But what I've found is no matter where you go in the world, if you look up craft beer, there is usually a really good scene in the area. Restaurants, places to see.
I mean, when Jamie couldn't make it to a gig, we went to see. Was it Ash? We went to see. Yeah. You took us to a place in Hanley for a drink.
Bottlecraft, yeah.
Bottlecraft. That was amazing.
I would say with craft beer, obviously the difference with real ale, it's built up on people centuries of drinking. The craft beer scene, obviously, started in. I think it's San Diego in America in the 70s.
Oh, right, okay.
And what it is now, it's a different style of drinking. So where with a cask beer is probably, between 3 and 5%, a lot of the craft beers now, some of them, you're talking 7-8%, but they're more like wine. So, and obviously it's a bit more expensive. But what he has in Bottlecraft in Hanley, which if you're ever in Hanley, definitely call in. He always has a really good selection. And it's becoming quite a sort of scene as well. So you'll find you can go into your local supermarket and pick up a craft beer from like Cloudwater, Polly's, any of the sort of the top brewers. But some of the real top stuff, you've got to go to a specialist sort of.
Nice.
I.e. 10 Green Bottles in Stone. He patents a lot of Cloudwater from Manchester.
Oh, right, yeah.
And some of the beer is, well, to me, it's a new sort of thing. It's almost like drinking wine now, rather than like your old school pint. I
mean, I discovered ale over probably the past 10, 15 years. I guess I wasn't, I was lager boy before that. And then I used to drink things like Worthingtons, stuff like that. And then Rich Matthews, friend of mine, said, "Oh, do you like Guinness?" And I did like Guinness. And he went, "Oh, you need to try the Titanic Stout."
Yep.
So Titanic's a Stoke-on-Trent brewery. And tried that, loved it, and then started exploring their different beers, the steerage, and they did a cappuccino beer and things like that. Can't remember what half of them are called. They've got names. They definitely have names. And and then started appreciating ales. Then we're very lucky in Stone because we've got the Titanic pub, we've got Limestone Brewery.
The borehole,
fantastic stuff. The borehole, and the brewery's at the back of where the pub is. And I started like Einstein, and they do a honey beer there that I can't remember the name of. And then they
Stone Brewed,
and then they did. Ian asked me for one of the nights they had a tasting night because I was into baking and stuff. He asked me if I'd make some bread using one of the beers, so he gave me a crate of the 666, the Halloween beer. I've forgotten what it's called now. Can't remember what it was called now, but anyway, so I had, and then he used about 1.5 bottles to make these loaves, so I ended up with a crate of this stuff. But
we are very, very lucky in Stone for a small town. So we've got probably my favourite, and I think as good a real ale pub as you can find anywhere.
Yeah,
the Swan.
Yeah, fantastic.
And the Swan's very friendly, very knowledgeable staff. Lovely beer garden in the summer, and the beer, and they will have as much as 8 different pulls on at one time, all changeable.
That's where I discovered things like Gamma Ray.
Yes, by Beavertown. Yes,
Beavertown, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if this is a myth. Is that Robert Plant from Led Zeppelin. It's his son who owns that brewery. I believe.
I didn't know.
Yeah. I hear that Beavertown is Robert Plant's son. So that may be a myth. I don't know. But yeah, that's a Gamma Ray, and there's another one that they do that I can't remember the name of. I'm hopeless with beers, but those are great, and I love the Swan. And then of course we've got Jules now because the Crown Wharf has moved into Stone, so we've got Jules as well doing all their beers. So Buffalo and Blonde and
then obviously as you mentioned,
what's the green one? The Green Monkey.
Green Monkey Lager, yes.
Yeah.
And then obviously you have 10 green bottles, and I'll give a shout out to the Wren. So anybody?
Oh, I don't know the Wren.
Now the Wren is probably our new little gem in Stone.
Oh, okay.
If anybody knows Chris, he took over the bridge about 3 years ago. It didn't quite work out for him there, but he bought the Wren, which is down the side of the Crown Hotel. Used to be the Mexican.
Used to be the Mexican.
Oh,
so okay.
If you were coming into Stone, and
it looks attractive.
It's fantastic, and what he does is all the decor, everything in there is reclaimed or secondhand.
Brilliant. Love it already.
Yeah, and he'll turn it in. What he does do as well is he'll sells a couple. So he's got at the moment, he always sells a limestone beer, and we've also got one of the newest breweries in Stone, Isaac Walton.
All right.
So he was out where, if you go towards Norton Bridge,
yes.
If you're going out to Stone towards Eckershaw, he used to brew on the left-hand side there by the golf.
Oh, okay.
Well, he's now bought the Railway Pub, which, again, if you go to Norton Bridge, the Railway Pub, he's now bought the pub and also brews out of there.
I hear that's quite good for open mic nights and things.
Yeah, his pub, I'd always check the opening hours because they're quite bizarre, but again, what a fantastic pub. And his beer, and ironically, he's got a following in America because all his beer is named after fish.
Right.
So, and he does one, I think it's called a red sea bass or something, or red bass. Yeah. And I don't know where he had the idea from, but from nowhere, this fish is only in a certain lake in America.
Wow.
And from nowhere, they started following him. And now I think he exports some of his beer.
Fantastic.
Out to the States.
Come and try our stout trout.
Stout trout.
Trout stout. I messed that up. We'll try that again.
Trout stout.
Come and try our trout stout. Oh.
So so the Wren, what he does is he at the moment he'll have a limestone beer, beer from Isaac Walton. He's starting to get quite a bit of live music on a Friday and a Sunday. Nice. And I believe he's starting vinyl night on a Wednesday.
Lovely.
And Chris himself, couldn't wish to meet a nice guy, really warm welcome, and very kooky.
Yeah.
You know, and it just, if you're part of a night out in Stone, definitely recommend it.
Lovely. Yeah, we're very lucky here with a selection of beers and things we can do. Yeah, very, very nice.
Climb to fame, it's your chance to drop a name. Trying to outdo each other's kind of lame. One-upmanship is the only aim. Claim to fame, claim to fame, claim to fame, claim to fame. Thank you very much.
Yes, Dave, that was me, to answer your question. What were you wanting to say there?
I was just going to say, obviously, my wife won't thank me for it, for a black country accent, so...
I'm from Walsall originally, you say. So.
Obviously, the same place as my wife, both from Walsall.
Yes, we are. Yeah. I'll just explain that. There's, you must be familiar with John Shuttleworth.
Yes, yes.
Well, he doesn't... Graham Fellows does another character called what's his name? Brian Appleton, History of Rock and Roll, and he's a media studies lecturer in the Newcastle under Lyme area. And he basically should have been famous, but he's helped loads of other people. It's all fictitious, but it's really funny, and that sort of inspired that. So that's sort of where that comes from. But so you mentioned a claim to fame earlier and wrestling people, but I don't know where that was going. So tell us, what is your claim to fame, Dave?
I have a couple of claim to fame. So anybody who knows me is I am very Frank Spencer-ish. So apologies, I'm showing my age there for bloody Frank Spencer, but very.
I can't do it. I used to be able to do it as a kid. Just get on a whoopsie. No, can't. Don't even try that now.
So the first time, obviously I'm a big Manchester. Well, I say big. I used to be Manchester United fan, and my friends were fortunate enough. They went.
Can I just say? I'll just stop you there. Have you always been a fan, or are you a Glory fan?
No, always.
You've always been a fan.
Yeah, my dad was a United fanatic.
Fantastic.
So I had no choice in the matter.
The proper fans.
Yeah, but basically, I went to my first game in 1978.
Wow.
I used to go everywhere. Ironically, I've lost a lot of interest because of the Premier League and the money side of it.
Yeah.
I have lost, they're still my club, always will be, but
yeah.
Obviously I'm not keen on certainly the current squad, their attitude and everything that goes with it.
Must admit, I know nothing about football other than the fact that it is very money driven now, and I think it's a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah, it's
not about the sport so much.
It's lost its heart. I've been in recent years. I've got a friend who follows Rochdale,
right?
So I've been on a few away trips with him, just for basically.
I like some of the smaller clubs actually.
Yeah, and we went to watch York City a few years back. I had my stag do in York, and on the daytime we thought to break up the 24-hour drinking.
Yeah.
Went to watch York City play. So at the time, they were in the division below the conference. But I think they had 2,500 fans there. And I thought, speaking to some of the guys.
No mean achievement. Yeah.
And it's the most I've enjoyed a game of football in years.
Yeah.
Because the football.
Genuine.
Yeah, genuine. And I think that's I've lost.
Yeah.
With United now. It doesn't feel.
Yeah.
Everybody there now.
Yeah.
They're there because of the pound signs, not because they want to be there. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, my story was my friends have gone to Turin to watch United play Juventus Champions League semi-final 1999.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I couldn't go, but I've agreed to pick them up from the airport. So I've arrived at the airport to pick them up.
Yeah.
Only to find out that, and on the back of this, United now have come from 2-0 down to beat Juventus 3-2.
Oh.
They're now in the final.
Yeah.
This is, for me, this is like, it don't get any better.
Yeah.
And we actually went on to win the treble. So we've won the league. We went on to win the league in the FA Cup. So we're now in the Champions League final. So when I get there, I find out my friend's plane has been delayed because the team are flying back in. So I'm thinking, wow. So I've got myself in the airport as the players are coming off.
Yeah.
So obviously Alex Ferguson's come off. So all I can think of doing is, have you seen the scene in Love Actually at the end?
Yes.
When Hugh Grant's coming out.
Yeah.
And what's the actress's name who's been EastEnders?
That is Martine McClutcheon.
Martine McClutcheon, when she jumps on him.
Yeah.
I've replicated this on Alex Ferguson. It's just literally, this guy's just done it all for me.
And we laughed in the cells. Yeah.
Well, obviously, I've then gone to release him.
Yeah.
Because the press are just dying to get all over it. What's happened then is the microphone boom of one of the broadcasters.
Yeah.
The lead has got caught around my neck. So as Fergie's wandering off, carrying on down the airport, and the press are trying to get pictures, you can probably see myself caught in the wire. My other quick claim to fame was I went to watch the Happy Mondays in Rock City in Nottingham. So
mad for it.
Great.
Mad for it.
And he's proper as well. I have to say as well, I was quite surprised.
Yeah.
That they were very good. I don't know what I was expecting. But
I went to see Happy Mondays with Jamie for his 40th birthday in Birmingham, and they were amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously afterwards, they advertise in Rock City, which is a fantastic venue, by the way, if you ever get a chance to go there. Nottingham, yeah.
Yeah.
Next door, they have like an after-show party.
Right.
But it's not the band. It's just literally that they want you to go next door and spend more money.
Of course.
So they had like an indie disco. So we've gone in there, and as we're coming out...
At the indie disco.
And unfortunately, as well, I can't remember this, which makes it worse.
Oh.
So I have my friends...
If you can remember it, you weren't there.
Recognition.
Yeah.
So as we've come out, the exact same point, Bez, not Shaun Ryder, Bez and the Happy Mondays have come out.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've proceeded then to get Bez in a friendly, not nasty, a friendly headlock.
Yeah.
Because I'm so overwhelmed to see him. And anyway, my friends just thought, what's he doing? But I'll go with the flow. Next thing you know, we've got through security to their after-show party, the real after-show party of the Happy Mondays.
Nice.
So my friend's thinking, bloody hell, Dave's going to get us in.
Yeah.
We're going to be in drinking.
Yeah.
Fortunately, just at the 11th hour, just before we went to sit down, they realised that we were nothing to do with them and got chucked out.
What a shame.
So there's my two claim to fame.
I have to say, Bez drinks in Granville's sometimes.
Does
so
he?
yeah, you have to. Yeah, on some Saturday nights you'll find Bez in Granville's. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's all happening in Stone, man. It's all happening in Stone.
Didn't China Crisis used to play at Granville's every Christmas as well or something? Apparently so. Apparently the previous owners used to know the band. So,
wow.
Ironically, China Crisis, I went to with friends to Dublin to watch a band, and literally just as the pandemic hit, and then we were going to see China Crisis, just as the COVID outbreak hit in Dublin.
Yeah.
So quite apt, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. Hi there, and thanks for listening to A Couple of Drips. If you like what we do and would like to help support future episodes, then you can do so by buying us a coffee. One-off donations or memberships are available. Just go to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/couple of drips. Thanks for your support. So talking of fame and music and stuff, we mentioned Scott Walker earlier, and you said you're a little bit of a Scott Walker fan.
Yeah, there's a great show again on Six Music on a Sunday evening. Tom Robinson,
right?
And each week he has a theme, and I have to say, me and Chris were speaking about this earlier. Obviously, growing up, my mum was always had music on in the kitchen.
Yeah,
and again, the Walker Brothers I come across, so I always quite liked, quite catchy,
Yeah.
But I'd never really listened to much Scott Walker. Sadly, the weekend after he passed away, Tom Robinson done a tribute show to him.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and that's when it sort of sunk. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from then on, I think the guy's an absolute sort of genius, as in that sort of.
Yeah.
If anybody's never listened to him.
One of the records I got from Record Store Day, and I previously hadn't heard of him very much, and then kind of heard mention of the Walker Brothers, and I know them. But it was a documentary on BBC4 with Neil Hannon talking about his influences that I first heard of him, kind of thing. But massively influenced by everyone. I was looking at this vinyl, and it's got sleeve notes by Neil Hannon, Jarvis Cocker, and Mark Ullman from Soft Cell.
Ironically,
so three people who've really been influenced.
If you've seen it, the BBC Proms series, if you look on the iPlayer, it randomly comes on and off. What they did on the Proms, they did a evening with Scott Walker.
Oh, right, okay.
But you had John Grant, Jarvis Cocker.
Go and see John later in the year.
Who else was singing? Scandinavian singer. I'm trying to think of a name now. But they had 4 artists.
Right.
Basically come on with the orchestra.
Brilliant.
Just playing an evening of Scott Walker.
Lovely.
Absolutely.
Oh, I'll have to find that out. That sounds amazing.
If you imagine John Grant as well, to me, out of all them artists, he really.
Yeah, we've got tickets to see John Grant. It's been put back once, but can't wait for that. I think my girlfriend's very excited.
Oh.
Did you ever hear the John Grant concert he did with the BBC Orchestra in Manchester? Oh, I'll have to put you onto that. That is an amazing record. It's all his songs just arranged.
Can you remember? Because obviously, first time I come across him was the amazing album. Is it Queen of Denmark?
Yeah,
which is fantastic. But I then read into him a little bit, and I probably pronounce it. They call the Czars. His band.
The Czars, yeah.
The Czars,
they
won't pronounce
it.
it.
I've got the best of the Czars. I haven't got any of their individual albums, but I've got a best of, which is a double album. There's some covers on there as well. There's like an ABBA cover and stuff on there.
That's the one
really
I've got,
yeah.
It's the whole album of covers, isn't it? It's fantastic.
No, not this one. No, this is just the best of them. There's one cover on there, but they're amazing. Obviously, I discovered John Grant through a BBC Red Button thing where his concert was on a performance he did was on the Red Button, and I was like, oh, this guy's interesting. Like, who's this guy using like a a Novation launch pad to fire samples, and he'd got this amazing kind of blue eyeshadow on and stuff, and just looked amazing. And I was like, who's this guy? And then I discovered his orchestral album, and it absolutely blew me away. I'll have to play you something off it.
There's a brilliant performance of him doing Pale Green Ghosts on Jules Holland.
Brilliant.
Which is, again, fantastic.
Yeah. There's also another good one on YouTube. I'll put links to all of these. There's one on YouTube where he does. It's called the Songwriters Collective or something, and there's him and 2 other songwriters, and the one guy he's playing one of his tracks on piano, and this other guy's looking like, whoa, it's like this guy's another level sort of thing, It's him. I can't remember who the other guy is, and then it's James Dean Bradfield from Manic Street Preachers, Songwriters Collective thing, and they all take it in turns to play songs. But I'll try and find the link and put it up on YouTube as well. But that's brilliant. And the other thing I've got written on my list, because we're quite random here, is Pac-Man. Because, and I should explain this, when we came into the studio, I have a Stream Deck, which, although I don't stream and I don't use it although I could use it for firing sounds for the show, actually, but I don't tend to use it for that. I tend to use it in the editing process. But I noticed, Dave noticed I'd got a Pac-Man screensaver on it, and Space Invaders and stuff. And so you mentioned Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. So I'm just going to say Pac-Man and Donkey Kong to you.
All I can say is I can remember when I was younger, I think we used to go away probably every 2 years.
Right.
And I would have been, I think, about 10. And we'd gone on a family holiday to Devon.
Right.
And I discovered Space Invaders.
Oh, fantastic.
And I think...
how old would you have been, Dave?
I think I was about 9 or 10. And I can remember on a Saturday night, my family would go to the Doxy Institute.
Yeah.
So obviously Doxy, an area of Stafford. Unfortunately, it's no longer there now. But Saturday night, you'd have my granddad, probably his 3 brothers, his 7 sisters, my aunt and uncle. Probably half the people in there were related. What my dad could do is my dad could sit there and I'd sink a few pints, my mum could have a few martinis, and he'd plonk me and my brother with a few bags of crisps, a litre of dandelion and burdock and Space Invaders, or they had these. Do you remember the table games like Pac-Man?
We had one at a youth club. We had a Space Invaders one, and I think it had can holder and an ashtray built into it, from what I remember. Yeah.
Just everything you want as a 10-year-old is a can holder and ashtray in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
just to get you in the mood. Yeah, working man club in it, sort of. And I think the Doxy Institute was like this legendary place. The discos, the new romantic disco at the Doxy Institute, and the Space Invaders game, legendary.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think long before anything come out. Obviously, the games are out there now. Frightening, but I can remember having the handheld Pac-Man game.
The one that was in the shape of a Pac-Man. Yes. I didn't have that one, but my sister had like a tabletop one. It was very similar. It was like a blue and black thing and you could play 1 or 2 player. It had two lots of joysticks either side, kind of thing.
What would you say for Christmas? What would you say your best as a grown-up is your best ever Christmas present?
That's
tough question.
That's very difficult. I mean, I'd like to say around 1980, 81, probably my first ever home computer. That was pretty awesome at the time. It was a Texas Instruments TI-99 4A for the geeks listening, and that it was kind of a hybrid machine because it had a keyboard and was a standard machine, but it also had a cartridge slot as well. So like the Atari at the time or whatever, you could buy games on a cartridge. So you could do basic programming, but then it would also work as a console as well. So that was great because it was like having a computer and a console all in one. Was that my greatest ever Christmas present? I don't know. Bass guitar, that was pretty good. Video recorder, that was pretty good. The wonderful thing about my dad is that he's a very, very skilled designer and builder. He's built models for wind tunnel tests for television programs and stuff like that. So he's very, very skilled. And when I was a kid, he built me a garage, like a petrol station. But he copied the roof was like the Fiat garage in the Italian Job.
Yeah.
And it had a car lift in it and all sorts of, so he would build these amazing wooden constructions, beautifully painted and then fitted out with all the stuff. So growing up, kind of every Saturday he had a business in Warsaw, and it was a model shop at the top of Karma Road. And so going there every Saturday and playing with the trains in the window and playing with the scale extric and stuff. So that was quite good. But yeah, I had some amazing Christmas presents, cameras. But the things that my dad built, I think, were the best. He built me a big water tank when I was into photography. He built me a big water tank for doing color processing and stuff out of fiberglass and that, because he was one of the first guys in the country who could fiberglass. He was taught by the guy who invented it, the American who invented it. But yeah, so lots of bits of stuff like that. I have to say, I have none of those skills. I cannot do woodwork. I'm absolutely hopeless at that. He's also good at electronics. He used to repair CB radios, and I'm terrible at all of that. I can't solder to save my life. But yeah, so I picked up none of those skills, but he's very handy to have around.
He's very, very handy, yes.
Yeah, but what was your favourite Christmas present? I mean, I might cut this out and just put it in the Christmas episode.
Yeah, just probably not
Christmas special.
Christmas special, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just what we want, don't we? You know, we're coming into May bank holiday.
Yeah,
sun is
absolutely.
shining.
It's the time to talk about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Mind you, by the time this one's actually put out, it might be Christmas. So let's just go with it.
If it is, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Yeah.
Glad tidings and all the rest.
You'll all be very happy, I'm sure. Yeah. Carry on. Sorry, Dave. What was your best Christmas present?
Possibly two. One, unfortunately, only lasted till Boxing Day.
Oh.
It was Evil Knievel.
The wind up with the red wind up thing.
Basically, if you can imagine, it was a plastic ramp with Evil Knievel on this bike, and you ramped it up. Unfortunately,
and it had this white windy handle.
That's it.
And it had a geared thing on the back of the bike, so you'd wind this handle, and it had a large ratio, and it would wind up this thing. And then
unfortunately,
sparks flew out of it as well when it went, didn't it?
Mine didn't last very long. I would we used to visit my gran on Boxing Day, like tradition.
Yeah,
and it ended up on its second use. Evil Knievel actually went, like, unfortunately, into my gran's kitchen door.
Oh, and
that was the end of the Evil Knievel.
Oh, what a shame!
Fortunately,
what a shame.
After that, I'd probably say Stretch Armstrong. Classy sort of gift.
Yeah, nice.
Fantastic back in the day how you can get something. I felt quite bad at all the wonderful stuff you're talking about your dad made.
Yeah.
And then mine's like a piece of rubber that.
Yeah, but I mean, how many hours did I get
down the garden?
But conversely, how many hours did I get out of my Etch-a-Sketch and my Skidoodle and things like that? You remember Skidoodle? You remember Etch-a-Sketch? Yes. Skidoodle was like a circular one where you had templates and you could draw patterns and stuff.
We had some, obviously, some fantastic, around the time and everything. Obviously, aside from getting records, which is always be come up.
We talked about Christmas presents. My first ever record player was a Christmas present of my Auntie Jen, and it was called a Frisco Disco. It was a Frisco Disco, and it would have been about 7 or 8 at the time. And it was a little portable plastic record player, because I always said I wanted to be a DJ when I was older. It's probably why I got into doing podcasts. And it was like a tiny little thing, and the record hung off the edge of it. The records were a lot bigger than this thing, but it had a microphone with it and speakers, but headphones as well. So you could do the proper DJ thing kind of thing. And it was, but that was my first ever record player before I got a proper record player. So, yeah, fond memories of that. It was probably about the same specs as a Crosley kind of thing, but had the speaker built into it, which is a really bad idea because it vibrates the record and causes, but anyway, so much better on headphones.
I think music for in general, the listening demographic was completely different then. What you think about it, we never had the choice we've got now, have we? No. You think we're streaming now, then, and I think possibly as well. You'd listen to music a lot more. So I know growing up in the 80s, a lot of the stuff you'd play again, where I think there's so much choice now. Yeah. Probably I don't know if you're the same, Chris, if you get a new album, you'll tend to bang it on, give it a couple of listens, and then it just goes into the collection. Sometimes.
Definitely guilty of that, especially with vinyl, because I'm always buying new stuff and there's always new stuff to. Yeah. And recently I bought a load of CD box sets as well, because CDs are really cheap at the moment. Yeah. So I bought loads of box sets, and it's like you'll go through the whole box set once and then it go on the shelf. And it's quite bad like that. But then there is stuff that you listen to again and again, but you're never going to listen to it as much when you're older as a teenager, because as a teenager it's on all the time kind of thing, you know. But
what was your sort of? I use the word favourite. It's very hard and it's quite perceptive. But what would you put your sort of some of your favourite stuff of the 80s and maybe some of your favourite stuff now?
Yeah, I was always weird because I always discovered music about 10 years after it was popular with everyone else. So during the 80s, I was listening to the stuff that I'd nicked off my dad in the 70s. So Jeff Wayne's World Worlds, ELO, that kind of stuff. And then later on, I got into, through friends at school, I got into things like Jean-Michel Jarre, a lot of electronic stuff like that.
Oxygen, great album.
Fantastic. Oxygen, Equinox, Zuluk, I was quite into because it was just weird. Well, I like Zuluk because it used sampling, and I was quite into the idea of sampling. So it samples that Ronald Reagan going to. And I remember my uncle going, sounds like he's saying tit. Yeah.
I've just had a flash there of the Spitting Image sketch with Ronald Reagan's head being a drinks cabinet. Can you remember that?
Fantastic. The president's brain is missing.
Sorry, we digress slightly.
Did the earth move for you, Nancy? Oh, honey. Oh. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to press the button again. And he's got the two buttons by the bed, nuke and nurse, and he hits the wrong one.
Am I right thinking now is Spitting Image back again?
It is. It's on BritBox, yeah.
My fondest memory was several Christmases ago. I think it was the very first Christmas we're on Christmas again, but never mind. I was on my own, and I'd been out with friends very kindly to Cannock for a curry Christmas Day. Just do something different. Yeah, it was lovely.
Lovely.
And I'd got back home.
Turkey curry? Just got to ask.
No, just a full bore.
Okay, just a regular curry.
Curry.
Okay.
Got back home. I've had a few to drink by now.
It's not like you, Dave.
Just on the odd occasion.
Never seen you have a drink in your life.
Just sort of channel flicking.
Yeah.
And what did I come across first of all was Chaz and Dave's Christmas special in the East End pub.
Lovely.
It was then followed by the worst Christmas records
Actually,
ever.
that Christmas special is amazing. I saw that recently.
It was on again this Christmas.
Yeah.
But I can remember the Spitting Image, and it took me back to I was trying to explain to somebody the other day about the Thatcher years. How
you had to be
high.
there.
You had to be there.
You can't tell anyone about them. If you weren't there, you don't get it.
Yeah, you don't get it.
You don't get it.
Thatcher's Britain. But I always remember it tickled me because the song was Santa Claus is on the Dole, which kind of summed up the Thatcher era, that even Santa Claus was at work.
So one last thing I wanted to talk to you about was you started telling me the story earlier, but then I stopped you and said save it for on air. The film Local Hero. You said you got a story about this.
Yeah, it's quite scary. Obviously, recently we were travelling. We'd travelled to Scotland before.
Yeah.
We spent 2 weeks on the Isle of Skye.
Yeah.
And while we were up there, we thought, let's of an evening. We were self-catering.
Yeah.
So of an evening, let's find some Scottish films to watch.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, I don't think I've ever seen it. I can't remember. I've possibly seen it as
because I mentioned it to you because I've just picked it up on Blu-ray, and also the reason I was reminded of it, I remember seeing it years ago and loving it, and the reason I was reminded of it, I love the location, but I love the small kind of town feel of it. But the reason I was reminded of it is it came up as an answer on Pointless the other day. It was films made in Caledonia. So, but yeah, so where was it you were watching it?
No, we were actually speaking last night, saying, because we're going to have to, we have a movie night once a week. So
Brilliant.
we said we need to watch this film. I don't think my wife's ever seen it either.
Right.
And then I've come round today, and you've just got it on.
And I've just got it and mentioned
Blu-ray,
it. Yeah, it's weird that, but it is a great film.
Whereabouts is it set in Scotland?
I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact name of where it's set, but it's got a fantastic cast. Fulton Mackay plays an old man who lives on the beach. You've got Burt Lancaster. You've got Gordon, can never remember his name, but he's one of the pilots in the TIE Fighters in Star Wars, and he also used to have a show called Kit Curran's Radio Show, which was a TV show, but it was about a DJ. And of course, the great Peter Capaldi is in it, Doctor Who himself.
Oh, brilliant.
is in it. So yeah, it's a great film, but I'd forgotten about it for many years. Dave, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, and I hope you'll come on another one again in the future. I'm sure we can find plenty more to talk about, and we should definitely get you on we'll do another group one as well, where we get loads of people on talking about topics. But I think we've got an awful lot of material there.
Chris, I'd like to thank you just for having me on. It's been fantastic.
You're welcome.
Brilliant.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you'll come on again in the future. Thanks for listening, if you are listening, and if you're not listening, then who am I talking to? Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at Couple of Drips. I nearly forgot the Twitter address then. And, of course, there'll be a message played after the episode. Don't forget, of course, you can, if you want to support us, you can support us on ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com. Or you can also just hit the support button in whatever you play the episode in. But if you can't afford to, or you don't want to, that's absolutely fine. We just appreciate you listening. So thank you, Dave.
It's good night from him.
And it's good night from me. And thanks for listening, guys, and hope you'll tune into the next one. Cheers.
You've been listening to A Couple of Drips. The show was conceived and presented by Chris Granger and is a Cup the Mic production.